Hello people, what I thought we'd do today is take a little deviation from my normal type of video and take a look at a couple of mobile phones. This is mainly because, reading on forums, people that have got the HTC One X and the Samsung Galaxy S3 are always saying, should I have got the X1, should I have got the X3? They never seem happy with what they've got. So I thought we'd just take a little bit of a look at the two of these, as I've got both of them sat here, so bear with me a second. Let's bring that in down there. Right. Physical dimension wise, as you can see, when you lay them together, they are virtually exactly the same. You'll find that the S3, looking at the top here, is probably about 2mm taller, but the width of them is virtually exactly the same. I think it's 0.7 of a millimeter wider on the S3. The only other specification that people keep on saying, oh, you know, the screen's bigger on the Galaxy S3. To clarify, the One X is a 4.7 inch screen. The S3 is a 4.8 inch screen. If we turn these both on, how about that there? When you lay them next to each other, you actually compare the height of the screen to each other. You're not going to notice the difference in everyday use. You're talking about 1/10 of an inch. It's tiny. Some people say they prefer the One X because it's got this matte rubberized finish to it. It's quite nice. I'm not particularly overly keen. Some people like the glossy finish of the S3. It does show the fingerprints, as you can probably see here, and it can look a little bit plasticky. Personal preference, in my opinion. Yeah, there's not a lot in it. They both feel good in the hand. They're both roughly the same size. I do like the silver trim around here. And of course the back on the S3 is removable, which means that you can get into the battery, you can replace the battery. But my only concern here is the back is quite thin and flimsy. I don't know how long that would last if you were taking it on and off of the phone on a regular basis. You do of course have the addition of a removable SD card in here, but having said that, the One X, yeah, has 32 gig storage on it. For most people that is going to be more than adequate, you know, unless you want to carry the, you know, every music release from 1973 to today. Yeah, I don't think that's going to cause you a problem. Battery life on both, I have found, is very similar, possibly slightly better on the S3, but you know, it's too early to tell yet. And again, who knows? ROM updates may improve that. A big hardware difference between these is the type of screen that they use. The One X, you know, I can't remember what they call it, but that is a regular display panel in there. It is crystal clear. I've got no complaints on the general look of that screen. The S3 uses AMO LEDs. Again, it's a very nice looking screen. It works very well. The only thing I would say in a lot of things with this, particularly if you've got something that's got a white background on it, it does have a slight blue tinge to everything. But in all honesty, it's not something that's a big showstopper. I am quite happy with this handset. The advantage of AMO LEDs apparently is that it takes less power to display black than it does any other colour. So if you've got a predominantly black screen, this screen should draw less power than on the HTC, if that is left with a black background, which is why I haven't bothered on this one. One thing that a lot of people complain about is the touch interfaces that's on these. Obviously the HTC uses Sense 4. I quite like Sense. There's nothing wrong with it. It's got everything you need. It scrolls quite nicely. It's smooth. Sense 4 has been trimmed down a lot from what earlier versions were. The S3 uses what's called TouchWiz. Again, you know, they're very similar. I'd be quite happy to use this, apart from the fact that I have found a bug on this version of TouchWiz which is slightly annoying to me. Some of the programs that I use require accessibility services on them, so that they can get notifications and that from other apps. Regardless of what settings I seem to use, there is a bug in TouchWiz that if you create a folder on the desktop,
folder opened, folder closed,
it will put those voice prompts on it, which with the HTC, if I open a folder, you know, they just open and close, the same settings. Having said that, you can change your home launcher. So I've installed Apex in this case. There you go. That is set up very, very similar to my HTC. You see, very similar layout, very similar clock, but the bug does not exist in this launcher. So there you go. There's a folder there. There's a folder there. So for those that say, I like the Sense interface, why don't you just install another launcher, something like Apex or Nova? You can then have something that looks very much like Sense. It removes what you don't like about the TouchWiz, and you can do very similar things on the HTC. Just install another launcher, set it up as you like. You can then have virtually the same layouts on both phones. There is another difference that I really like, and it's probably best if I send myself a Facebook message and I'll show you. So if we just send a message to both phones. Now, both phones have an LED. The HTC has a little red and green one up here. It's very tiny. Can be very easy to miss that LED flashing. It will only do the two colours. It's currently flashing green to say I've got notification. Red means it's charging or low battery, something like that. As you can see on the Samsung, it's got quite a bright LED there. You're not going to miss that. That is quite a bright flash there. The other difference with this LED is you can change the colour of it. It will work on all the RGB channels, so anything from white up to quite dark, you know, blues and purples, whatever you want, it will do it. You can also using applications on your phone, and I'll run through one of those with you. On here I've got installed a program called LightFlow, and if I go into tools, what we'll do is we'll just do a couple of LED tests here just so that you can see some of the different options. So that's currently going from green there, orange. Okay, and as you'll notice, the flash rate is changing on some of them. Blues, and you can set these, and you can have repeating notifications, both sound and vibration. It's a very good app, and like I say, that is one thing that I've missed from a lot of recent phones. You know, all of the phones I've got here, the iPhone and everything, they've all had quite poor quality LEDs on them. When it comes to the batteries, the HTC One X is completely sealed, somewhat like the iPhone is. There's no way in here to change the batteries. Let me just cancel this notification, or else it will keep on telling me. Right, that's better. So you can't change the battery in here. It's an 1800 milliamp battery inside this thing. In all honesty, I get a good day's charge out of this. When I say a good day, I take it off of charge at about 7:30 in the morning. I go out to work, I use it for a lot of emails. I get back from work and it'll still have about 40% charge at 6 o'clock in the evening. That's very often changed by, if I'm out driving, I'll stick it in a cradle on the dash and plug it into a car charger, in which case that extends the charging time quite a bit. The S3, as you've seen, has a removable battery in it. It's a 2100 milliamp battery. It doesn't mean that it's going to last a great deal longer than this one. You can obviously get spare batteries and swap them over if you require it, but in all honesty, I really don't. But if you're a really heavy user, then there's nothing to stop you getting spare batteries. The only thing that I would say that you've got to be a little bit careful of is up here. It says it's near field communication up there, which means that the NFC antenna is in the battery itself. So if you use NFC tags for anything, you will want to make sure that you get a genuine battery, or if you're getting an aftermarket battery, make sure you've got one that's got the NFC antenna in it. One little feature on these, or one difference should I say, between them is the output here for the speaker is at the bottom. I very often hold my phone like that, so you get muffled sound. The output speaker on here is up at the top, so when I'm holding the phone, you still get a decent sound out of it. Cameras, in my opinion, very similar. Now onto the main reason why I got the Galaxy. It's a little feature called OTG, so we'll just take a look at that. Okay, they have what's called OTG host mode. OTG just means on the go. Host mode just means that the USB driver in here can become a host, so that you can connect other things to it, like USB micro drives, that sort of thing, hard drives, game controllers, printers, and various things like that. So the One X currently does not support that. It's because of the kernel is an older kernel that's being used on this at the moment. So when you plug the OTG cable in, which in this case is just this, so it's got the mini USB on one end, and obviously a USB socket on the other. When you plug any devices into it on the One X, it's not recognised. However, the Samsung does support host mode, so I'll give you a little demonstration of that. What you should do first is plug your device into the OTG cable, and we'll do it with the screen on. And I'll plug this into the bottom of the phone, so it just goes into the port where you charge it, right there. But as I do, if you watch the notification area up here, okay, USB connector connected, okay, and it says USB mass storage connected, so that is there. It will automatically open a program called My Files, which will show what I've got on this USB drive. So actually, if I bring My Files up again, you'll notice that I've got the external SD card, which is my little micro SD card, which is the internal storage memory, and USB drive A. It is also accessible through programs like Root Explorer. The best way to do it in Root Explorer is to go down to MNT, and then under here you will have USB drive A listed, and then there are the contents of that. To safely disconnect these, I think what you're supposed to do is swipe that away, and it will disconnect, and then you can take your cable off. Now you can connect keyboards and mice, and what I've got here is just a wireless keyboard that came with a computer that I had. It's got a mouse wheel up here and the mouse buttons, and then obviously just a standard keyboard. It's a wireless keyboard, uses this little dongle. What you can do again is plug that into there, and if I show you the screen as I plug this on, okay, let's go up into the top there, and there we go. USB connector connected, mouse connected, okay. So if I just liven up this, what you'll notice is I now have a mouse pointer that is running around on the screen. Okay. It's a little bit difficult to hold the phone and control the mouse too much. What I'll do, just to demonstrate the keyboard then, is if I just bring up a new email message, come down there, actually you'll see the mouse pointer a little bit better now. And you'll notice, here we go, if we come up here, so that's all quite responsive. Now you should just as easily be able to connect game controllers like the PS3 controllers. So that's one of the big features of this that I really wanted to get this for. Like I say, printers, all sorts of things can go on there. My opinion, final conclusion, is I think both of these phones are as good as each other. If you buy this one, you'll be perfectly happy. If you buy this one, you'll be perfectly happy. It's always a case of whoever wants to buy a phone, they never seem happy with what they've got. They always want to change it in some way, which is what I always want to do. On that note, I'll just mention that when it comes to rooting these devices and installing custom firmware, the Samsung is the easiest to root. It took about 3 minutes to download the files and root this, and I was installing custom firmware on it dead easy. The One X, what you have to do is you have to go to htcdev.com and you have to unlock the bootloader. HTC Dev's website, the unlocker there is a little bit unreliable. It actually took me 12 hours to be able to complete the process and get the unlock file to unlock this phone. Even then, it doesn't give you a complete and utter unlock, so when you want to flash new radio or a new kernel, you have to do it separately through ADB on the computer, and then you can flash the ROM on top of that. Whereas with the S3, it's all flashed in one file. That restriction is easier. So if you're wanting to hack and modify your phone, the S3 might be easier. There is currently more custom ROMs available for the One X, only because that's been on the market globally for a little bit longer than the S3. But the S3 is due for launch in the States anytime now, and other countries will be following very, very quickly behind. So the number of custom ROMs on the XDA developer website will increase quite substantially once that's there, and there are a lot of developers of very good ROMs. So all I can say is, if you've bought one or the other, don't feel too concerned about what you're missing, because at the end of the day they are very similar phones, and once this is updated to support the OTG, you won't be missing out on that major feature. So take your choice.